Well, now that the All-Star festivities are over, the St. Louis Cardinals and all of baseball are looking ahead toward the second half. Andrew and I today are going to preview the trade deadline. What are expectations and predictions for the second half for the St. Louis Cardinals and individual players? And we'll do a little bit of reflection on the All-Star game and some of our thoughts and some of the performances we saw in the first half on this episode of Dealing the Cards. Andrew, I don't know about you. I feel like I'm with a lot of people where my interest in the All-Star game has significantly decreased over the last few years, especially the home run derby. I just don't care anymore. All-Star game, care even less, or not care even less. I just don't care really at all. I know you watched most of the game. I was supposed to be there for the member stream and did not make it, so I apologize for that. So anyone who was there, I'm sorry. It was my father-in-law's birthday, so anyways, that took a while. It was good though. Andrew, what were your thoughts on the All-Star game briefly real quick, and then we'll jump into Cardinals talk since that's what most people are here for today.
Yeah, I mean, the All-Star game was okay. Brendan Schaefer made a good point on Twitter that basically there's a couple good swings because the pitching is just like too good to do that. So honestly, maybe just don't let pitchers in the thing. Maybe just have Lance Lynn, Miles Michaelis, Steven. Just let the Cardinals have their like 7 All-Stars. Just
the home run derby.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, the home run derby was kind of trash. There wasn't the national anthem was horrible, and then from there on, it got a little bit better. But like, do you really want to see guys like Alec Bohm in the home run derby? I know he did a great job, but like, I don't know. I'd rather see some of the bigger stars play in that. I know some guys like Aaron Judge don't want to do it until like they're in front of their home fans. Shohei Ohtani wanted to do it. Thanks, Dave Roberts. You hate fun, and I don't like you. But I would have been a lot more excited for that event if Dave Roberts was a little bit nicer to us. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Ohtani homered in the All-Star game, and the National League lost 3-5. So that's typically what he does just in his career. So I'm used to it at this point.
So it really was the perfect All-Star
team. Angels, it's the same thing, you know.
It's the same thing. Oh man, and the Dodgers. I mean, they're good, but they're not as good as we thought they're going to be. So typical Ohtani. Maybe it's. Have you ever heard of the Patrick Ewing effect? It's an NBA thing where it's like, hey, the Knicks got better when their best player actually got injured, and so it's the Patrick Ewing effect. Maybe it's the Ohtani effect. Except the Angels didn't get better, but like, I don't know. Maybe it's like if you have Ohtani, you're good, but you'll never actually win effect. Wilson's been good.
No, when he broke his hand.
Oh, yeah, but they've maintained being good since he came back at least. So there's that. I think maybe you could argue the Lars Nootbaar effect.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. We'll see. We'll get into that. So I do want to real quick. So obviously, if you guys have some thoughts on the All-Star game, let us know. We can touch on more of that as well. But overall, it's a fun game. But most of us are more concerned with the baseball that does matter, and that's about to come up. They have a series against the Atlanta Braves. Fresh off the All-Star break, and then they have a really tough schedule for most of the rest of the way. So it's gonna be a challenge to see if the Cardinals can keep up their run of play, right? Like, are they the team that had one of the best records in baseball since Mother's Day? Are they the team that was really bad before Mother's Day, or are they something in between? I think most of us probably think something in between, right? They're not bad. They're probably better than average, but they're not necessarily what their record has been since May 12th either. So, but I do want to real quick retroactively look back. I know we do player grades and stuff, but overall in the season, let's throw out a couple names. Let's start on the positive side. Andrew, who is like one guy that comes to mind to you that's really surprised you with their performance in the first half?
See, I don't even like. I was a little bit hesitant to even do this exercise because I know as soon as I say names, then
you're not predicting they'll keep playing well. Okay, so there's no jinxing here. Just I'm surprised they did this.
Probably Alec Burleson, I think, is the first guy that comes to mind.
He's got to be number one.
Mason Wynn. I guess we didn't expect him to be all-star caliber. He wasn't an all-star. He had like better than a lot of the guys that were in there yesterday, but whatever. He got his rest time, so we're not going to hopefully have to see Crawford as much in the second half because he got some off time in the All-Star break. Pitching side, I think Kyle Gibson surprised me a lot. I didn't think he was going to be nearly as good as he actually was. Bullpen wise,
oh, you're going through all of them right now.
Oh, okay. I mean, did you want to take?
I do have one. I have a bullpen one. Ryan Fernandez. I feel like
yeah.
Where it's like dude's a Rule 5 pick and is sporting a 2.08 ERA right now. So he basically is a strikeout per 9. He's been super clutch. Ryan Fernandez has been godsend. But like you said, Alec Burleson, Mason Wynn, Kyle Gibson. I think Kyle Gibson now has come back down to earth a little bit, where he's actually probably about where I expected numbers wise. But I think overall in the season, I would agree he's been a little bit of a surprise in a positive way. John King probably fits that as well. I don't know if that's the direction you were going in. I think the dominance of the big three is a little bit surprising. Like, I don't think I necessarily thought JoJo and Kittredge. Actually, Kittredge is kind of 3.5 now, so that's about expected. JoJo has obviously fallen off lately, but overall, his first half was excellent. So I think that some of that is positively surprising. And I'll say, not for me, but I think for Cardinal fans, I see Fire Ollie in the chat. I'll say I think surprisingly, Ollie has been better than people would give him credit for entering the year. Mosaics moves have surprisingly worked out more than people thought they would, but I don't think, if you're watching on audio, he did the holy Mo's water thing again. But I think we could see there's clear holes at the team that Mo didn't fix. So I just think it's more so the moves he did make have worked out better than we thought they would. But there's clearly still moves he did not make that we thought he should. And then Michael Ciani, Michael Sinisi, everybody is definitely a big surprise. I think you could argue he's probably the biggest surprise, because at least these other guys, you kind of thought they'd all be contributors to some effect. Like even Fernandez, it's like, well, he'll probably be on the roster. Ciani, I don't think any of us ever thought he was going to play, like ever. And now he's like, when Tommy Edmonds back, he's displacing him as the starting center fielder. Edmond will still play a lot. He's still the better player for the Cardinals, but Ciani's carved out a role and is probably a front runner for the Gold Glove right now. So did I miss anyone in your eyes that's been positively surprising?
No, I don't. I think everyone else has either been like kind of what we expected, or a lot of guys have been kind of disappointing. I guess we'll get into that later. But those are the guys that are positively contributing. I don't know if there's anyone else on the pitching side. Lance Lynn, like before Washington, maybe, but no, not anymore.
Even then, he just wasn't really eating innings, so that was kind of tough. I'd maybe argue, or not maybe, I think we could all probably say Pedro Pages. Oh, there, Cody just said it. Right. Like, it's been pretty surprising too. But how about for this next one? We can get into a bunch of disappointings, but like ultimately, who has been the most disappointing person for you in the first half, Andrew?
Oh, I mean, it's
you see, it's hard. You got to pick one. Who's the most disappointing?
Oh man, probably Nolan Arenado. I think I'll lean towards that. Mostly because I think he was the better of the two last year. Is that fair to say? At least with like defensive value.
Yeah, defensive value, but I think Goldie's bat was better last year. Nado was only slightly above league average.
The guy that you expect, the guy that you expected to bounce back, you're hearing all of spring training. People are saying, "Oh, like he's going to have a big bounce back year." Angry Nolan is a scary Nolan, and he just has been terrible. So, I'd probably go with him. Paul Goldschmidt, obviously, you don't want to see what you're seeing out of him. I think he's been a little bit worse, but with age, with his contract coming up, you're kind of banking on it less than you are with Nolan Arenado, who you have for many more years. So I'll go with him.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I thought you would go Goldie there, but I think it's pretty fair to put both of them. We kind of touched on the Goldie part already, so I think he's probably number one pick on the board. But what I'm actually going to go with is Jordan Walker, because of the fact that, and I think you can argue any of those three guys is number one. The reason I put Jordan Walker as my guy, and I think actually would have picked him number one, is that, again, I thought this is going to be a year he breaks out into being an impact bat. I personally, coming into the year, I think there's been a narrative that I never agreed with entering the season, that Nado and Goldschmidt have to be your two best players for this team to be good. I thought Contreras was already better than both of them, and I thought Jordan Walker is going to take the step and be the second best bat on this team. And Jordan Walker just hasn't done that, right? He's in AAA and he's just not performing well. I'm still optimistic. I'm still excited about him long term. I mean, maybe my expectations have dropped slightly, but I'm not on the Jordan Walker's a bust bandwagon by any means at all. But clearly the performance this year has been terrible. Sub 500 OPS when he was up here. Just really couldn't make contact like he's supposed to. And he wasn't hitting for home run power either. So it was the worst of both worlds for him there. And then obviously the AAA stuff just isn't going well either. So for me, Jordan Walker is extremely disappointing. He is only 22 though. And so I think it's tough, because most guys his age, you don't expect even be at the major league level. So for him, like for me to say, oh, I thought you'd be a middle of the order bat right now, it's just not super fair to him. But again, that's the pedigree he had. He also showed us last year that he could be 20% above league average from June, July, August, and September. Like that's a significant sample size. I'm disappointed that he's nowhere near that player anymore. Like he's not worthy of being on the big league roster right now, bat wise, let alone being an impact middle of the order bat. So that's where I'd go. But I think to your point earlier, Goldschmidt's or Arenado's a great pick. Goldschmidt obviously has been super disappointing. Even the people who thought Goldschmidt would be mostly like he was last year, I didn't think he was going to regress much. But even the crowd of people that thought Paul Goldschmidt was going to regress this year, I don't think anyone thought he's going to be this bad. He's been pretty good against left-handed pitching, but he's awful against right-handed pitching and even worse in high leverage situations. And it's killing the Cardinals. And I think at some point here, it's probably they should have already done it, but they really have to start looking at now. They got to move him down the order because he's taking away run scoring opportunities. He's one of the RBI leaders on the team, but he's also one of the worst hitters in all of baseball with runners in scoring position. So it's like, hey, you put guys who are actually good at driving in runs in those situations, and which most guys on the team actually aren't right now, but at least not as bad as Goldschmidt. I think you'll see more production from this offense. So are there any other names that stick out to you, though, Andrew? I think there's been quite a bit of players that have been disappointing. Is there another person that really stands out to you we haven't mentioned already?
I think you can go with Nolan Gorman. He's been extremely cold. Lars Nootbaar just hasn't really played. That's kind of disappointing. It's not really his fault, but you'd like to see more out of him. Everyone else is kind of in the clear, I feel like. Pitching-wise, maybe Steven Matz. Steven Matz has been very disappointing. Again, just hasn't played, and when he has played, he's been pretty bad. Keenan Middleton, I guess, is disappointing. I don't know.
True.
Like just
Tommy Edman.
Just yeah, right. I mean, a Mo when it comes to talking about Tommy Edman's injuries. So I don't know. Like people who haven't played are like you like to see the guys who are hurt come back. I don't know if that's really fair, but
yeah,
guys that I wish could be better or like just have helped the team a little more.
Yeah. I think so. There are some chats in here that are saying, hey, Nato maybe hasn't been as bad as we think. I think overall in the season he has been, but yes, he's heated up lately, which has made us feel a little bit better, but his defense is down. And again, like he is basically, I think he's still below league average at the play right now. He's a 700 OPS guy. Like this is a guy you expect to be 850s or higher. And again, he's supposed to hit for power and he's not. So I just think it's still really disappointing. Even if it's not as bad at the plate as Goldschmidt or Walker, but some of this is relative to expectations too, right? Like if Michael Ciani is putting up Nolan Arenado slash line, we're happy about it. But when Nolan Arenado is putting up that slash line, we're not going to be happy about it. So expectations matter a lot here. I do think it's really interesting, which will make our conversation about the second half really interesting, is that you could argue the Cardinals, that if we went into the season and named who are the top 6 hitters on this club, you could argue it was going to be Wilson Contreras, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Jordan Walker, Lars Nootbaar. I'm missing one more. Who is, I think, the 6th bat?
Donovan.
Oh, did I say Gorman already, though?
I think you did.
So I'm missing. Oh, no. Okay, so here we go. It's Contreras, Goldie, Nato, Walker, Newt, Gorman. I think those would have been the 6 guys who said so Donovan's probably 7 though for most people, right? Okay. Like going into the year. I mean, he would have been actually in my top 4. Yeah. I think most people would have said those 6 are their top 6, and all 6 have either underperformed or missed significant time. I think that's a potentially encouraging sign that it's like, hey, there are a lot of players on your team that you expect more from. It doesn't mean they're going to do it, and I wouldn't bank on all 6 of them doing it, but and also you could see regression from Burleson, you could see regression from Wynn, you could see regression from whoever, but it does kind of give me a little bit of encouragement that they're this in the thick of the playoff race, and they're supposed to be an offensive driven team, and their top 6 bats have not performed or just haven't. I mean, Contreras has performed, but just hasn't been available as much. Newt has mostly performed, but not been available. But then Gorm, Walker, Goldie, Nato have all underperformed this year. And they've been missing Tommy Edman, who's supposed to be another starter. So you could argue 7 of their 9 projected starters this year have underperformed or not been available. So does that continue? Who knows? But that's something you could look toward the first half. Is there any pitching that you've been maybe underwhelmed by? I don't think we really named any on that.
I don't know. It's just
maybe Michaelis.
Yeah, I mean he's been like okay. You like I feel like you win like 50% of the game. He either gives you like a 7 innings, 2 runs, or he gives you like a 5 innings, 8 runs, and it's like, well, it's one or the other. Like the 5 innings, 8 runs you can live with because you're probably going to lose that game anyway. The other one is also fine. Like he's been okay. I feel like last year was more disappointing, and this year was just like, that's what you kind of expect with him.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sandy, for willing that extension into existence.
Oh man,
nice bold prediction from you.
Not great. Zach Thompson's a good pick. I just saw that from Cody in the chat. So yeah, he's been disappointing. You could argue the AAA arms in general mostly been disappointing because you would have hoped someone could step up. Oh, Steven Matz, obviously, but you kind of said that earlier about not being available.
Yeah. Palante's been great.
Yeah, Palante is. I kind of had to eat my crow here because I was kind of like, man, he was like awful against right-handed pitching. He still isn't, or right-handed hitters. He still isn't good, but he's getting the job done. So impressed with Palante there for sure. Before we get into, I want to look ahead though, because I think that's what we've seen so far. But I want to think, who are some guys that were maybe a little bit worried about regressing a little bit, and who are some guys that were optimistic are going to bounce back, play better, all that kind of stuff. But before we do that, we do want to talk about one of our sponsors of this podcast now is 314 Sports Cards. And if you don't know 314 already, they're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard and all of that. And they're open 10 to 5 on Monday through Friday and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And if you're interested in buying cards, trading cards, selling cards, they do sports cards and Pokemon cards. So they always have like the newest selections of boxes, players, or packs, single cards of local players, stars around the league, all that kind of stuff. So you can find all that 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. Andrew, is there any like sports cards drops or collectibles you're kind of keeping an eye out for right now?
Yeah, I think that there's a Topps Chrome drop today, like more premium, high end, like shiny cars from Topps. Some good names, rookies in that bunch, including some Cubs players that I'd rather not think about. I think Ellie De La Cruz is on the box, which is tough.
Great.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. Maybe I'll hit a Shohei auto for once. Probably not, but
okay.
I like gambling.
I'm itching to get back in the sports card game, so I'm gonna have to take a visit to 314. I got a Victor Scott rookie sign or like prospect sign card, which is fun. And I used to collect sports cards all the time when I was younger, and I just got away from it. So it's definitely back in style, it feels like too. So if you're interested in collecting some sports cards, selling sport cards, trading sport cards, or even just looking around, sometimes it's fun to go check out those places because you kind of might think, I'm not interested. And then you check it out and you're like, oh, actually, I'm going to bait myself into spending a bunch of money here. Check out our friends over at 3-1 Sports Cards. So thanks, 314. Okay. So we do want to get back into, what was that?
You beat me to it, but it's okay.
I'll let you do it for now on. Who do you think, Andrew? And also chat, you guys have been great with this so far too, but always let us know what you're thinking. Also, if you're listening to audio, I've heard that Spotify now you can comment on episodes. So if that's true, let us know on Spotify and listening to audio platforms too. But chat, Andrew, who do you think who are you keeping your eye on as someone who's going to bounce back and perform better in the second half?
See, now we're getting to prediction territory. So
hey, at least with these, you're not jinxing them. You're hoping they get better. You're not
Pete Crow Armstrong's going to get better in the second half, right? Like, can we? Oh no, I'm kidding.
I'm afraid one day you're going to start trying to reverse jinx everything, and it's actually going to start being right. So you've got a lot of power here.
I don't know. Nolan Arenado, maybe he's been on a bit of a heater to end the first half. Maybe this All-Star break, he'll get out of whatever sort of mental funk that it seems like he's in. I feel like Paul Goldschmidt might just be cooked. I don't know. I'm not counting on him to bounce back, really. It just seems like he's behind on a lot of things. His strikeout rate is way up. Arenado, it just seems like his power's down. It doesn't seem like anything else is really down. So maybe he's like hurt, maybe he's something, but I don't think he's like cooked yet. Mm-hmm. Nolan Gorman, maybe.
Who's your pick though? You gotta land.
Oh, okay. If I had to bet on it, if I were a betting man, which I'm not, probably Nolan Gorman.
Okay.
Because he's just been so like we've seen what he can do when he's hot, and I think we've already exhausted all of our Nolan Gorman cold stretches, right? I feel like we should be at the point where Nolan Gorman is just not cold for the rest of the year because he's been cold for like the first half, except for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I was like, oh, Nolan Gorman has real all-star potential now when he was going off and was like 2 behind the major league lead in home runs. and then he just didn't hit one for the next month, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I was wrong there. But I think I also had a bold prediction that he would hit 35 homers, and I think that's probably the one I'm closest to getting right, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, he's still on track for 30, I think, right now.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll go with him if I had to bet.
I did see in the chat someone asked if Tommy Edman counts. I think he counts. He's not my pick here.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna go Nato,
Mhm.
and so I'm gonna go Nolan Arenado, but I'll tell you who I was gonna go after because I didn't think he'd be available. But I'll go Nolan Arenado.
Oh, Giovanni Gallegos has been terrible. Thanks, Cody, for reminding me. I would like to once again ask the front office to DFA Giovanni Gallegos.
He's been pretty good since he's came back from the IL.
Mop-up duty? Yeah, okay.
Hey, that's where you start. That's where Ryan Fernandez started. So I'll go Nolan Arenado just because you started to see him heat up, and really at this point it's more of the power. So I'm predicting some of the power will come back, and that's what'll really unlock him. And they really need it. They need a right-handed bat to step up in this lineup to pair with Wilson Contreras because they're really left-handed heavy, and that's where most of their production comes from. My other pick, though, was going to be Lars Nootbaar, and more so that he's got to stay healthy the second half. Like, if he doesn't, he's on pace to not play a lot of games again this year already, but it's going to be like a Tyler. I mean, people joke he's Tyler O'Neill, but Lars still typically plays 110, 115 type games. He will be in the 70, 80, 90 game range if he gets another significant stretch here on the IL. I think he's only played 46 games so far already, and there's like 90 something games left, or not even. There's like 70 something games, 66 games left or something like that. So he's got to play a lot to finish. He might not even make it to 100 games this year at this rate. So Newt's got to.
Lars Nootbaar video essay coming out: the rise, the fall, and the rebirth of Lars Nootbaar when he gets traded to the Dodgers.
Man, it might happen. So no, I think his talent's there. It's just injury. Like Tyler O'Neill, and I think people have made good points about this before, is that he really it's not like when Lars comes back from injury, he's slow to start a little bit, but then he gets good again. O'Neill was mostly bad when he came back each time. He just was kind of average, and he had that one good year. Now he's good in Boston again. So I love that for Tyler. I'm so happy for him. I think Lars is different. He did some work to figure out why he gets so injured so much. I don't know if he'll make a difference or not. So I would predict outside of Nato that Lars Nootbaar is going to have a good second half where he'll be on the field. He's not going to have a significant IL stint, and he's going to produce. And it would be huge for the Cardinals lineup if he can do that. They were kind of banking on it. Burleson's really picked up the slack. Donovan's been good again. Wynn's been pretty good, but they really need someone like Nootbaar to pick up some of the slack if he can. So predictions, Nato. Newt's another one for me. Do you want a second pick as well as someone who will bounce back, or are you just going to stick with Gorm here?
Trying to think of someone on the pitching side, but I don't expect any of those guys who've been bad to bounce back. So I think I'll just go with Nolan Gorman. Yeah. Tommy Edman will probably. I don't know. No, we already played the Astros, man, because Josh Hader's not in the NL anymore. That's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, it might favor Tommy that he mostly plays against left-handers now, but he'll play a lot against right-handers. But it's definitely a different role for him coming back, so that'll be interesting.
I mean, I would start him over Siani every day, and then just have Siani come in as like replace Burleson in like the 7th inning or something.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you see from Tommy defensively when he comes back, because Siani's just so stinking good. And he's like a 70, 80 WRC plus guy against right-handers, and Edman's always been like a 95, 90. So it's not actually that big of a difference having Tommy in there. Left-handers wise, though, it's 9 day. Like Tommy's 20% above league average, and Siani's like 50% below league average. So you definitely want Tommy against
trade Tommy Edman at the deadline. But
it could. We'll get into some of that. I'll go with my regression pick first. I think Mason Wynn is going to regress a little bit the second half. Now, I don't think it's like, I think it's more of like what he's doing right now, where he's a 77, 38 OPS guy. I think he'll range between that and like 710 the rest of the way, rather than like fluctuating back up and down. Because I just think like he's got a lot of batted ball luck stuff in his profile right now. I think long term, that when he starts to unlock some more of that power, it'll really help. Because right now, if he's not blooping the ball in and hitting the ball in the gaps, then it just doesn't work for him. I think he's great, though. I'm not trying to act like he's going to fall off and be bad. I'm still think he's going to finish second in Rookie of the Year. I just think offensively he's going to fall off a little bit. There's an argument from people you need to move him down in the lineup because he was like really good at the bottom, not so great at the top. I don't necessarily buy that one as much. I know the numbers back it up. I don't know how much of that. Like there's something about how the first at bat of the game he's like awful, but then the rest of the way he's fine. and I don't know, it's just such a small sample size for me to be like, that's a real thing, but maybe it is. And so I actually have been interested in the idea of them potentially doing Newbar or Donovan leading off with Wynn batting second, Burleson batting third, and then Contreras batting fourth. And then you can have the other of Newt or Donovan batting fifth. And I think that's how you get your 5 best hitters in the 5 top slots. The way they rotate it right now, you kind of they feel the need to have Nada or Goldie in the 4 and 5 spot. But if you do it like that, you can do the righty lefty splits all the way down. So I actually think something like that could work out really well. I'd probably actually have Newt leading off and Donovan batting fifth because Donovan's been driving in runs a lot lately. And what's Newt's on base? Only 318 this year. So I don't know. We'll see. But something like that could be really interesting, I feel like. But anyways, I think Wynn will regress some. I don't expect it to be major, though. Andrew, who are you thinking in terms of maybe some regressions coming?
I'm going to go with the bullpen. Just kind of in general,
okay.
probably Ryan Helsley specifically.
Okay.
Because he's like, we talk about the save record. He's leads the NL in saves, or all of baseball in saves, I think. But it's kind of telling that you look at the underlying metrics and he's walking a lot more guys. He's not striking as many guys out. Getting a little bit lucky, I'll say. Kind of like an Alex Reyes sort of situation back in 2021. I'm not going to go that far and say he's going to just completely bottom out, but I don't know if he's going to be as locked down as we've seen in the first half, and maybe that could be an issue if we don't add another bullpen piece, and I don't know if we will. But like maybe it's the only pitching the 9th inning. It has been helping him get through some of the struggles a little bit, but. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as high on Helsley as other people are, and people are telling me not to compare him to Reyes, which I mean I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying it's a little. I can see some of the parallels. I can see some things in there that are a little bit concerning. Also, I don't like his availability thing. I'd like him to be able to pitch a little bit more, but whatever.
Okay, I personally I'll push back. I think you're baking in some of the May stuff into there because last 30 days 1.8 ERA. He's a 2.3 ERA in the season. If you look at his baseball savant, he's 96 percentile or higher in expected ERA, fastball velo, whiff percentage, barrel percentage, K percentage. He's 80 percentile. So even though it's down compared to like chase percentage is still up there, I think it's more if he had that weird stretch where it felt really bad, but he's really locked it down since then. But I do agree, the bullpen's a good pick. I'm predicting it to stay stable because it's around the 8th mark right now. And I think that you have like Fernandez rising and you have like, it feels like whenever someone's falling, someone else is rising to kind of pick up the slack a little bit. Well, and I think they could add another arm to that bullpen mix that'll help. If I were to pick a specific reliever, though, I would go the Jojo Romero route because his fastball has just looked really bad lately. And let me look at the last 30 days now for JoJo because it hasn't been good last I checked. It was okay, actually last 30 days is a 2.57 ERA, so that's pretty good. I think he had a couple better outings last few times, but then last 15 days, let's see. Oh no, JoJo's actually been good his last few, but he basically had that stretch where he didn't pitch a lot. So actually maybe that was a bad pick. Maybe he's gonna be fine, but I do think it's a little bit worrisome. Kittredge has actually been kind of even. Like people were like, "Oh, Andrew Kittredge is terrible now," but he had a bad outing his last time out, which kind of ballooned his ERA again. But before then, it was down in the low 2s again over the last 30 days.
John King's probably going to regress, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, he could be one of those guys because I think Kareem's made this point before that there's just some guys that like the metrics aren't good, but for some reason it works for them. Like the underlying stuff won't tell you they're good, but that's their pitching style. But yeah, I think John King having a 2.43 ERA probably won't be sustainable. Fernandez at a 2.08 feels pretty. I don't know if that's sustainable either, but I would love to see that. But then like Libby could be better. He's kind of fallen off a little bit lately. They could add another arm. Gio's been better lately, so maybe he contributes some.
Or just get rid of him.
Roycroft, or just get rid of him. Oh man!
He should have just pitched all 18 innings of the All-Star game, both sides.
You know, that could have been the thing, both sides. Jeez.
Or MLB could have actually. I'm not even going to finish that thought.
Yeah, I was gonna. I did not. I think I know where you're going with it now. I'm glad you did it. Well, that's what we're looking forward to for the second half, player profile wise, player progression wise. We'll get into a little bit more team predictions here in a second, but basically, I mean, I think we're in agreement here that this team is going to be competing in the second half, trying to make the playoffs. And if you're in agreement too, you're probably going to want to make it down to the ballpark this summer. And so as they're making a playoff push, you're going to be wanting to make it out to Busch Stadium. And there's no better way to do that than with SeatGeek, #1 ticketing app. You can download SeatGeek today to get $20 off your first purchase. You have to use the code NewtNews though. Okay. So if you've been with us for a while, you know, we used to be Newt News. Use code NewtNews if it's your first ever purchase through SeatGeek, and you get $20 off your order, which is really awesome. And you don't just have to use it in a Cardinal game. So if there's a concert coming up or you want to go to a different sporting event, you can use it on that as well. So yeah, use the code NewtNews for $20 off your first purchase.
Thanks, SeatGeek.
Thanks, SeatGeek. It's a good deal. So hopefully, I mean, I know tickets are kind of cheaper right now anyways, but then you could buy a lot of tickets. You can pool with your friends, all that kind of stuff. But I do think the attendance is going to go up in the second half. You've watched some of these more important games like that Cubs series when Nato who had the go ahead run or RBI late in the game?
One of them finally came through.
And like you just hear Busch Stadium go nuts. Like that's the loudest I had heard in a long time. So I think attendance goes up the second half, especially if they keep performing. But I do think what fans are going to want to see, right, is are the Cardinals going to make any deadline moves? Because that'll influence hey, are they investing in the team? If they're going to invest in the team, we'll watch the team, right? So I hesitate. Like we're going to be doing a lot of deadline stuff in general, but maybe overall predictions, you can give certain names if you want to. What do you think the Cardinals will end up doing at the deadline? And if you want to throw out specific names, go for it.
I think I was alluding to it yesterday on this stream at the end. And I mean, let's call this a bold prediction, right? Because I don't want this to happen.
Okay.
So my bold prediction for the second half is that the Cardinals are just not going to do anything at the trade deadline. And it just seems very on brand for them to just be like, yeah, we really like what we have, right? The classic Mo line, and they're just going to ride it out with the guys that they have. Because there's no clear spot to add to the rotation right now. Obviously, you want Palante to move back to the bullpen. You want Lance Lynn off the team. You want things to improve. But with the way that it's currently constructed and with the team not willing to go above the luxury tax for whatever reason, you go a couple million over the luxury tax. Oh no, you have to pay like $20,000 to that's dispersed. Like, oh no, right?
Yeah.
Bill DeWitt is crying right now because he has to pay an extra like $20K or whatever. Like, it's ridiculous that they won't go over the tax when they have a team that I think is really competitive.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that they're going to be able to meaningfully add, like, because would you rather have like Tyler Anderson and you have to pay up like some prospect capital for a guy who's like completely overperformed his metrics and has not been great his entire career instead of Andre Palante? I don't know. Like, I'm not sure I would be certain I would make a move for a guy like Tyler Anderson or Eric Fetty or like guys who have kind of overperformed this year. Their metrics say they should be a little bit worse. I want to shop in the tier of like Nathan Eovaldi, Max Scherzer, Kevin Gausman, guys that are maybe not available like outright, not like guaranteed to be traded, but guys that like you could get for the right package. But I don't know if the team would be willing to like spend that much to get a pitcher that would like meaningfully improve the rotation. Because I want a guy that I can rely on in game 2 in the playoffs. And I just don't think they're going to be able to go out and get that. And then the other moves, like adding another reliever, they might add another reliever. It'll probably be really underwhelming and not like Carlos Estevez or Kirby Yates or who other people we've thrown around. And then they might add like, I don't know, like a random bat, like Kevin Pillar or something. But like, it's like no one's going to be excited by that. So when I say they're not going to do anything, it's not like they're not going to do anything. It's just going to be like 2021 trade deadline. We added J Happ, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. That like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think it's more realistic. Personally, again, I think that's in the range of outcomes. I think I have a story that's going to go live tomorrow, and I made a prediction about the deadline. So I guess I'm going to give some of it here. And I said, like, I think there's a lot of directions the Cardinals could go at the deadline, and I think they think there's a lot of directions they can go. I don't think they're certain because it's hard to know what the market's going to look like right now. There's a lot of teams. I named like 8 or 9 teams in that story that we don't know if they're going to sell, buy, or hold yet. And if 4, 5, 6 of those teams sell, the market gets fluctuated with a lot of arms and stuff available, and then you can make more moves. If there's only like really 4, 5, 6, 7 sellers in the entire market, then it gets really hard because you have 20 something buyers. So that's when I think the Cardinals might not play up to what they need to. But I actually think it's more likely they either go get the dynamic arm they need, or they do literally nothing than doing something in the middle. Because I think, to your point, I think they could convince themselves, and I don't necessarily disagree with it, that like instead of going out and paying for Tyler Anderson, who's probably going to regress and makes money next year, we're probably just going to roll with Palante, and we've got Steven Matz in our back pocket if we need to. And neither of those guys are supposed to be starting a playoff game for me anyway. So like, they don't desperately need innings right now like they did in 2021, right? 2021, they had Johan Oviedo in the rotation. They had Palante in the rotation back then, who they didn't view as a starter yet. They were doing bullpen games. Like, they were doing everything they possibly could to cover innings. So they had to go get Happ. They had to go get Lester. They had to go get LeBlanc. They're not in that situation right now. Really, the real need is a number 2 starter, number 3 starter type. So I'm going to predict that they're going to go get Max Scherzer. If it's not him, someone like Zach Eflin, someone like Eric Fetty, UC Kikuchi, Kevin Gossman. I would love. I don't think the Blue Jays are going to do it, but it'd be really interesting. Chris Bassett, I think, makes a lot of sense for this team. I think they're going to do something like that because, personally, I don't think the price point on those Fetty, I think, it's hard to gauge. But like Scherzer, Bassett, those type of guys, I just don't see them taking a ton of significant prospect capital to do it. Like, I don't think it takes Ivan Herrera to pull it off. I don't think it takes Tommy Edman to pull it off. Maybe they could do a Tommy Edman swap for one.
I mean, honestly, Tommy Edman and Herrera, I'm okay. Like Tommy Edman, I'm very okay trading. If Herrera, I'm like kind of okay trading.
I'm okay trading Herrera, but not for rental arms. Like, it has to be for someone for control. So like if a Mariners arm is available, different conversation. Maybe Kevin Gossman, but like Scherzer, I'm not giving you Ivan Herrera for a half of him. But like Cody was putting in here, and I listened to that podcast too. Takeo Roby's supposed to be back soon. Like, a Takeo Roby could be someone they throw into the center of a package where it's like, hey, he's not one of our top 3 or 4 pitching. He's probably the 4th pitching prospect right now. So he's not one of our top 3 guys, but he's still valuable. And then other arms like that, Graceffo, stuff like that. I think they could use that to go get a significant arm. That's what I think they're going to pursue. I know there's people out there who already think the Cardinals are posturing that they're not going to do anything, which I do think is possible, but I think it's more so they're trying not to like, I think back to more at Blogger Day, and Mo was very clear they're going to add a starter. Like, he just was not ashamed of it.
Mo was also very clear that Tommy Edman would be back in June. And
okay, very clear is probably not the right way to say. He said within the month, which technically it's a little over a month now from Blogger Day. So
he also was very clear like 2 weeks after that he expected Tommy Edman to be back before the All-Star break, and then he like rolled his ankle or something, and it's like, oh,
yeah, okay, but like, how is he supposed to predict that?
Well, yeah, but like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
yeah, I don't blame him about the Tommy Edman stuff, because it's like that's what they thought, and then Tommy just didn't progress. So what is he like? If he just kept saying over and over again, I don't know, we'd also get mad. So, but I do think.
But like, when he doesn't know, that's what he usually says. He's like, I don't know.
Like, yeah, but like, if they have a timeline, they're going to give the timeline, right? But like, all that's, I think it's more so on us to realize when injury updates are given that we always have to remember that there are hiccups and stuff that happen. That if they say, hey, he's going to be back 4 weeks from now, there's always the chance, because there's 4 weeks of buildup, that something happens during it. But anyways, I'm not going to, like, obviously the Edmonds situation has been frustrating, but I think more so that they didn't disclose the injury in the offseason, I think, is more of the issue. But then ever since then, it's just been annoying. So, but yeah, I think them going at an arm. I think Mo is very clear they don't like their AAA options. And I know Plante's been better, but like, I don't know if he really wants to bank on Steven Matz being the backup option when you don't know if Steven Matz can stay healthy or not. So I think they go make a move for an arm like a Scherzer. No way on earth they do Garrett Crochet. No way on earth they do something like that. Maybe they do the Tyler Anderson round. I'll be really frustrated if they do. But
I don't like Tyler Anderson because of the All-Star game, which is great. You know, Angels, that's where they're at. It's pretty funny. But we'll take their other arm that's not an All-Star. Carlos Estevez.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe Kareem's right. He's in the chat right now and said maybe it takes more for Scherzer than we think. And that's like if it does take more than we would think, then that changes my posture on it. But assuming to me it doesn't take Walker, doesn't take Weatherholt, doesn't take Hentz, doesn't take Matthews, doesn't take. I mean, so JC, I wouldn't love it, but if it's just a JC, it's not the. I don't know. Actually, maybe I don't like that. But if it's something like the Taco Roby and other stuff, if it's something like, I don't know, if it's something like that, I'm definitely open to it. If it's a little bit more, it's tough, but you got to pay up at the deadline. So I don't know. I think maybe the Chris Bassett could be that kind of fit. Who knows? But the problem is there's a lot of contenders that need pitching, and some of them need actually more than you do. Like the Dodgers.
No, they're going to get Scooble.
Desperately need it.
I'm
well, did they paid up for Scooble? That'd be wild. Actually, I think it would be best case scenario if Scooble and
that's what I'm saying.
Are both moved at this deadline, because then it's like the Dodgers already made their big move, the Orioles already made their big move. Cardinals can be one of the teams to go get one of those next best arms. So,
or the Dodgers finally get Jack Flaherty, which people have been talking about for years.
That's true.
I don't think we're going to bring him back. There's no way.
Yeah, the reason I would push back on, I think Kareem. I don't know what you think personally, like significant capital is for Scherzer and like what you think they're asking for. Because I think like with some of the deals I see thrown out for Scherzer, sometimes I think they're way too much. I'm like, okay, you do realize he's not Max Scherzer anymore. And then other people throw out deals where I'm like, okay, he's worth more than Dylan Carlson though. I think like you think like Jordan Montgomery was probably okay. You'd Verlander and Scherzer moved. Jordan Montgomery was probably the third most valuable arm moved, or you could even argue he's one of the top two because Verlander and Scherzer you had to pay down money on last year, and they got two borderline top 100 prospects for him. I think you've got Scherzer who's older. You have Scherzer who has been injured most of the year and isn't like he's been good, but he's not like Jordan Montgomery good last year. So, and I think last year there wasn't a lot of great arms available either. So I think that's a good comp for me to be like, okay, I think Jordan Montgomery went for more. So something less than the Jordan Montgomery package for Max Scherzer, I think makes sense. So anyways, we'll have to see though. Like I think for the Cardinals too, they think they would re-sign Scherzer on like a 1 or 2 year deal. I think there's a little bit of incentive like, hey, bring him in. We know we're going to re-sign him. It probably helps build a relationship back. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not giving up like Herrera for that. I'm not giving up one of my top 6 prospects for that. Like we'll see. But that's kind of our deadline prediction type of stuff. But all that to say, Andrew, who do you think, or how do you think the Cardinals are going to finish the season? Do you think they're a playoff team? Do you think they're a division winner team? What wild card do you think they get if they do make the playoffs? Do you think they'll miss the playoffs? How do you think they'll finish? And then we'll talk about playoffs if we're in that mode.
I'm going to put on my, I don't even know what you want to call it. My two-way player enjoying glasses, where I enjoy watching. Well, enjoy is a little bit strong, but like I've been watching a lot of Dodgers baseball, hoping for Ohtani to hit number 200. He also had a wow.
Okay. Well, first, thanks for the super chat, Ryan. But I think Andrew gets way too much flack for being like.
I was about to clip something that was going to be put on Instagram Reels and TikTok that was maybe going to be the most delusional thing I've ever said. But okay, thanks Ryan for the super chat. But at least hear me out for a second, man.
I think Ryan, and I do think JJ. I think Andrew gives us. He usually tries to give the other's perspective on it. I usually disagree with how pessimistic you are about it, but I do think like you're not like. I don't think Andrew's ever been like what you see on Twitter.
They're not giving away a bobblehead of me on Back to the Future night. I got it.
You know. Oh my gosh. Okay, Andrew, how do you think they're going to finish this year?
Okay, all that to say, I've been watching the Dodgers. Ohtani's chasing a couple milestones. If he had hit a home run against the Phillies, it would have been his 29th out of 30 MLB teams. And the last one that he hasn't hit a home run against will be the Cardinals. So that's big for me. I want that to happen. And the next year is against the Phillies.
Ohtani point going.
Anyway, I've been watching all these Dodgers games, and they've been horrible. Their pitching looks completely cooked. Their lineup has like 2-3 good hitters maybe that are like above league average, I would say, like Smith, Ohtani, Freeman, Hernandez. Are probably the only 4 guys that I would say are above league average. The rest of that lineup is horrible. I don't trust any of them to get the big hit. And we're 5.5 games back of the LA Dodgers, and they're in second place in the National League. I'm not saying that the Cardinals can pass them. If I had to put money on it, I would like slam it on the Dodgers.
But you're not saying they can't.
I'm not saying the Cardinals can't be the second best team in the National League with a
Whoa.
couple of moves.
I love the energy.
Right? Maybe that's me going to the All-Star break. I've taken a break from the games. I haven't seen the team play in a little bit, and I'm all optimistic. Maybe. But also, just looking at this team on paper, as currently constructed, if Mookie Betts has a setback, if Yamamoto doesn't come back, then they're as currently constructed, I would take them over the Dodgers in the series any day. And you just need to go out there and make the moves at the trade deadline. You need to go out there and you need to be aggressive because the National League has opened itself. The Dodgers super team is not there anymore. The Braves super team is not there anymore. The Phillies are the only other team that's like really dominant, and I would say like there's no way you're going to pass them. There's no chance. But if the Cardinals go out and they're aggressive, they can pass the Brewers. They're 4.5 back. They can pass the Dodgers. They're 5.5 back. And you become the second team in the National League to beat. And I really think that you have all the pieces there. Goldie and Arenado, they could bounce back. They could be a lot better. You have Gorman, Newbar, Contreras, all those guys that have really high potential. And I'm not saying that they're going to do it, but I think the door is opening for the Cardinals to not just be like a sneak in and you could make a run team. They could be the team to beat if they were aggressive at the trade deadline, if they made the right move.
Beside the Phillies.
Right. Obviously. But I don't know. I'm seeing the Dodgers just completely fall apart. Max Muncy had a setback. Yamamoto on the 60-day IL. Mookie Betts, I think, will come back. Even with Mookie Betts, I'm not convinced that team is really going to go anywhere. And they're going to be aggressive. They're going to be aggressive at the deadline. They're going to try to get pitching. And 5.5 games back, like you've done a lot. You've built up a lot more ground than that in a lot shorter time. So
yeah.
I'm not saying that they're going to get it. Honestly, I don't even know if I want it. I don't know if that spot is actually worth anything because those teams have generally been like losing in the first round. I don't know if that's like the rest days or whatever, but hey, maybe Ryan Helsley needs it to be fresh for the playoffs. Yeah. But
I would still definitely rather have it because then you don't what if you do run into the Phillies type series, right? Where it's like you blow game 1, you blow game 2, you're out of the playoffs. I'd rather automatically be in the next round than have to win my way to the next round. But I get the momentum thing. Dude, I think you're spot on. I don't think because here's the problem. I don't think most of us actually pay enough attention to other teams to know what is actually happening, right? Like people are like, oh, it's the Dodgers. They're so good. And it's like, have you watched the Dodgers as of late? Because look at their rotation. I'm going to name you the starting rotation of the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. James Paxton, Gavin Stone, Landon Knack, and Justin Wodorowski. Like, okay.
He's not good.
Gonna be honest, Cardinals rotation's better right now. Now,
Glasnow's on the Phantom IL.
So Glasnow will be back. So like, it's not gonna be that bad. But I'm telling, like, we're not talking about like someone might be like, oh, they're gonna add Terry Screwball, and then they're gonna have Yamamoto, Screwball, Kershaw, Glasnow, all these guys. It's like, okay, Kershaw's making his way back right now, but we haven't seen him yet. So who knows? Glasnow will be back. I believe that. Sure, they'll probably add Screwball or they'll add Crochet. So they'll have really a top two that's really, really good. After that, though, Dustin May's gone. Tony Gonsolin's gone. Or probably won't be back. Walker Buehler, who knows? Yamamoto, who knows? Like, after their top two, if you get a Scherzer, if you get someone like that, you're not going to, like, you don't take Sonny Gray over Glasnow or Screwball.
I do. Crochet. Glasnow's been kind of shaky recently.
Yeah, but Gray's been kind of shaky lately too.
Oh yeah, you look at the numbers side by side; they're very comparable.
Yeah, but he's not like a clear upgrade. No. So like the point is like you go to the Rangers last year. Montgomery and Uvalde aren't the two scariest pitchers of all time either, but they can compete against two frontline starters. Yeah, Bobby Miller's been garbage. He's gone.
Remember Bobby Miller on like the second day of the season?
Yeah, apparently he just has to face the Cardinals and he's good. But my point is, like you can go 2 for 2 up top if you need to at the Dodgers. And then their third starter right now probably isn't going to be incredible, but who knows? Maybe they get healthy. Their bullpen's really good, but then I think your point, Andrew, too, about their offense is also a good one. Even if they get Mookie Betts back and he's great, their top 5 is incredible, right? Like you just can't compete with Ohtani, Betts, Smith, Freeman, Teoscar. I get it. After that, though, it's going to be like Pages, Lux, Gavin, Chris Taylor, James Outman. The Cardinals bottom lineup's better. It can be better.
So bad.
So I think it's not crazy. Like that's your point. Is it's not out of the realm of possibility they could be the number 2 team in the National League. My prediction, though, I don't think that was your prediction.
No, it's not.
So where do you land? Do you think they're a wild card team, NL Central?
I think they won't make any of the moves that I just said they should make to try to make a run at the Dodgers. Okay. I don't think they're going to do any of that. I think the Dodgers are going to be aggressive, make moves. Probably not like Skubal or anything. They'll probably make some marginal moves. I don't think they want to empty the farm in their first year of this super team contention window, whatever they have going on, especially with all the injuries. They'll probably make some marginal moves. And by marginal, they're going to get like Jack Flaherty and it's like, oh no. And they're all going to be disappointed, like, oh, we didn't get like whoever. It's like, you guys probably got one of the best pitchers on the market. But I think they're going to improve a lot more. I think the Cardinals are not, and probably end up going to be like a wild card team. We only have 2 more series against the Brewers, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And you need to be at that home series, because I went to the Imanaga game, or I tried, and it got rained out. But you need to go to that Brewers game. And
I might have to.
Make sure that you apologize to them for what you did. See, I get all the flack for Imanaga. Can we talk about a second how Josh never gets anything for putting the Brewers in last place in his preseason prediction?
Hey, there's still time for them to fall to last place. Who knows?
Okay, sure.
I'm just kidding. I'm going to go Cardinals catch the Brewers and win the NL Central, because they've already made up 4.5 games in 50-something games, and they've got 60-something games to make up 4.5 more. And I think the Brewers are finally coming back down to earth. This is their first losing month. They're 5-8 so far of the year. And you look at their offense, and almost, I think at one point, and it's probably still the same, every hitter in their lineup was outperforming their expected numbers, not their projections, like what the actual, like the expected rate of what, when they make contact, they're expected to have batting average, expected slug, expected everything. They were all outperforming it. I'm like, this is just not sustainable. It's not going to happen. You can't have every player in your team overperforming. Same with the pitching. They started they've had a lot of injuries. They already weren't good to start, or at least names wise. They've performed really well. Then they've continued to have injuries. I think the Cardinals bullpen's better than the Brewers bullpen. I think the Cardinals rotation's better than the Brewers rotation. And I think the Cardinals offense should be better than the Brewers offense. So I don't think it'll be like the Cardinals are going to run away at the NL Central, but I do think they win the NL Central. And I'll move us straight into the playoff predictions. And I think the Cardinals get their first playoff series win since 2019. After the wild card series, I don't know. I'm not going to make any predictions because I just want them to make it out of the wild card series. But if they win the division, then you're probably facing the Mets, the Padres, the Reds, the Pirates, the Diamondbacks, one of those teams, and I pick the Cardinals over them at home any day of the week. If they don't win the division and they just make the wild card, I'm still going to pick the Cardinals just because any team can win, and I think they're due to win, and I think they have the ingredients to win in a 3-game series, but they could easily lose it too. So even if they have to go on the road to face the Braves or go on the road, well, that one's going to be tough, but go on the road to face the Brewers, I feel fine. Brewers, I feel fine about it, but or even host different wild card team at home. But I think they'll win their first playoff series. And someone asked earlier, so I'll give my last thing. Chaim Bloom will be the president of baseball operations at the end of the year, no matter what happens. Mosaic will move into a different role. So those are my predictions.
Can I play that clip in reverse? I don't think StreamYard has that capability.
Play it in reverse?
Yeah.
Oh, man. So what do you think? How do you think they'll finish in the playoffs if they're making it there for you? Do they get a playoff series win, or are they in and don't do anything?
This is like bold predictions again. I'm not putting this on a graphic, guys. I'm sorry. We're not posting this on social media. I don't know. Maybe. Let's say they get if they get the second wild card spot, I think they might get stomped by the Braves. I just think it's possible, which is kind of why I want the third wild card, so they get a chance at the Brewers. I think they can beat the Brewers in a 3-game series. I feel like it tends to happen like late in the season. We play the Brewers. We usually do well against them. Tends to be how it goes. I don't know. I think they'll take the Brewers on, and then, I've always wanted to go to Shohei Ohtani's first playoff series. I just never thought it would be in my backyard. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Oh. That's tough for me. But probably I don't know. Maybe they'll get stomped by the Dodgers. Maybe they won't. Let's just say for fun they beat the Dodgers in the NLDS, and then they get stomped in the NLCS. They get swept.
Yeah.
Like they did in 2019. 2019 kind of thing,
I wouldn't. I mean, compared to where they were last year, getting stomped in NLCS, I wouldn't care. That'd be awesome. I do want to answer this real quick. Does Gersh stay in a hypothetical Bloom scenario? I don't know. I don't know what Bloom would do. I think they would mostly maintain the front office, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a Gersh, Flores, other guys look for other jobs at some point. But I think it's. I'm just gonna say I feel like I have good reason to believe Bloom will be the guy. Mo will be in a different role for one more year. So,
yeah,
that's what I think.
And Bloom will trade Mookie Betts.
He'll trade 4 Mookie Betts this time. He'll trade, according to Cardinals Twitter, he'll trade Goldschmidt, Dylan Carlson, and Giovanni Gallegos to get Mookie Betts because the Dodgers need a first baseman, apparently, even though they don't need an outfielder. So
they need an outfielder for sure. But
yeah. Also, I don't think it matters if they make the playoffs or not. I think Mo's gone. Not gone. I think Mo is on to the next thing within the Cardinals organization for a year at least.
Going back to the Rockies.
That would be funny. Here's tinfoil hat. He made the Nato trade because he didn't want that money on the books for when he went back to go take over the Rockies, and he wanted Austin Gomber there.
Austin Gomber's getting traded. I'll trade Arenado for him right now.
I don't know about that, but
if it means they take all the money back, then sure.
Yeah, it's tough. So, anyways, those are our predictions. That's what we're thinking for the second half and our preview. I've seen some Jordan Walker hype in the chat. We'd love to see Jordan Walker play well, but at this point, I'm okay if he has to stay the rest of the year in AAA, and we'll see him in 2025.
I mean, if the Cardinals won the World Series, and they've always had some random World Series MVP. Who's the World Series MVP on this team?
Like a random one?
Like David Freese or David Eckstein. Just like some random guy that's not.
Yeah. Well, they have so many like guys that are like those teams had Pujols, Edmonds, Roland, right? So like these teams don't have that. So I could see it being like Brendan Donovan, even though he's like you could argue he's the best player on the team at times. But if I went the most random, I'll go. No, Pages wouldn't play enough.
Michael Ciani.
No way. He couldn't. There's no way.
Imagine if they like stomped the who's bad. The AL is so deep. That's the issue. Yeah. There's not going to be a bad team.
I'll go Brendan Donovan will be my World Series MVP over Alec Burleson. But I mean, those are two of their best players this year. But like obviously Goldschmidt and Arenado are too big of names. There's no way Ciani does. Like, there's no way. I mean, I guess he could make like a couple of like Rob.
What if he just like homers like what if he has a 3-homer game like Pujols?
Oh my gosh! And then he like robs a game-winning home run, and maybe Mason Wynn. Maybe I don't think Pages would play enough because I think Contreras would catch every game, but
goes pitches and all stuff
because they're all blowouts in either direction. Oh gosh, Yanni walk-off grand slam to send. That would be like when Yachty hit that home run against the Mets in 2006.
Oh,
Jose Fermin come back. Moises Gomez comes up. Lucan Baker. Okay. Home. You know who would be potentially the weird like off-brand? It'd be Dylan Carlson.
Oh no!
If Dylan Carlson,
and then they still trade him
after the season.
Yeah, maybe for like the Red Sox, right? In the ALCS MVP this year.
Could you imagine if they faced like the AL team that had Dylan Carlson and Dylan Carlson wins MVP for that team? Oh gosh, Taylor Modders now entered the chat. Michael McGreevy, we've gone too far gone. So Again, if you're listening on audio or on YouTube, we appreciate it. Like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. We had a really fun time on the draft stream Sunday. So thanks for everyone who made it. Kareem, who's in the chat today, who helped us with that. Again, we always want to thank our sponsors as well, 314 Sports Cards. So go check them out if you can as well. And then also SeatGeek. You can use code NewtNews for $20 off your first purchase with them, which is a pretty good deal, honestly, if you think about it. We will be back on Sunday, obviously, after the Brave series to talk about how things are going. Hopefully, we get a little bit more news and action about what's going to be happening at the deadline at that point, too. JJ Weatherholt is a Cardinal, so that's exciting. I think I saw, Bleacher Report, I saw their top 100, but they don't count. But I think I saw Kylie McDaniel has him as like his 34th prospect in all of baseball already. So that's exciting. You could argue the Cardinals might have 3 top 50 prospects in baseball here soon with Weatherholt, Matthews, and Hentz. But anyways, anything on the way out, Andrew?
Yeah, we have did you announce the trade deadline stream?
Oh, no. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so we're going to do a similar stream event for the trade deadline on the day of. It'll be really awkward when nothing happens, but yeah.
Hey, we'll still cover all the other moves if we need to. So
yeah.
Yep. So trade deadline stream. So watch out for that. We'll kind of play it by ear that day. We might have an announcement beforehand about how we'll handle that. Because it might be awkward to sit on here for 8 hours if nothing's happening, but we might jump on when they make the first move. We might, when other significant move happens, we'll do something, but a trade deadline live stream, check out for that. But then we have our episode coming Sunday. Also have a cool video that Andrew's about to finish up that I think you guys will like in preparation for this month. So just stay on the lookout for that. Let your friends know about the podcast. Obviously go check out 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles and SeatGeek, and we'll see you guys on Sunday. Peace.